Arms. Work into match grain. Wrap the yarn around your fingers like this. Make loop around your middle finger. Pinch the yarn with your thumb and middle finger. In round 1, start with 1 chain stitch, then work 4 single crochets, and finally 1 slip stitch. Insert hook into the loop on middle finger. Yarn around hook and pull it through the loop. A match grain is formed on middle finger. Yarn around hook. Pull the yarn through the loop on the hook. This is a chain stitch. The chain stitch serves as a beginning and the slip stitch serves as ending of each round. They are not counted into the number of stitches. Then work 4 single crochets. Insert hook into the match grain. Hook the yarn and pull up loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around hook. Pull the yarn through both loops on the hook. That's a single crochet. Place a marker in the first stitch. Such a V shape on the side stands for 1 stitch. Keep working 3 more single crochets. Remove the loop from finger, and then pull the yarn tail to tighten the loop. Okay, pull the yarn tail on the back. Finally, work 1 slip stitch in the first stitch. Insert hook into this marked stitch. Through the underneath of the V. Okay, hook the yarn and pull up loop. Then pull the first loop through the second loop on the hook. That's a slip stitch. Round 1 is done. Remove the marker. In round 2, start with 1 chain stitch, then work 4 increases, and finally 1 slip stitch to join this round. First, work 1 chain stitch. Then work 4 increases. Increase means working 2 single crochets in the same stitch. First, work 1 single crochet in the first stitch. Hook the yarn and pull up loop. Yarn around hook, pull through both loops on the hook. Place a marker in the first single crochet. Then work 1 more single crochet in the same stitch. That's 1 increase. Work 3 more increases. We need to work 2 single crochets in each stitch. Then we make the fabric bulge upwards like this. Work 1 slip stitch. Insert hook into this marked stitch. Hook the yarn and pull up loop. Then pull the first loop through the second loop on the hook. Tighten the loop. That's a slip stitch. Round 2 is done. In rounds 3 to 4, work 1 chain stitch, 8 single crochets, and finally 1 slip stitch for each round. First, work 1 chain stitch. Yarn 1 hook, pull the yarn through the loop on the hook. Then work 8 single crochets. Place a marker in the first stitch. Keep working 7 more single crochets. Finally, 1 slip stitch. Round 3 is done. In round 4, start from 1 chain stitch, and then work 8 single crochets. 1 chain stitch first, then work 8 single crochets. Also mark the first stitch. Continue to work 7 more single crochets. Finally, work 1 slip stitch in the first stitch to join this round. Round 4 is done. Here we can cut the yarn tail short. In round 5, start with 1 chain stitch, and then work 6 single crochets and 1 decrease. Finally, end with 1 slip stitch. First, work 1 chain stitch. Then work 6 single crochets. Also mark the first stitch. Continue to work 5 more single crochets. Next, we'll insert hook through the front loops of the next 2 stitches to make a decrease. A regular stitch, namely a V shape, has 2 loops. The one close to us is a front loop. It's front loop, while the one far from us is a back loop. Insert hook through the front loops of the next 2 adjacent stitches. Hook the yarn and pull the yarn through the 2 front loops. Yarn 1 hook, pull the yarn through both loops on the hook. That's 1 decrease. Finally, work 1 slip stitch in the first stitch. Round 5 is done. Remove the marker. In round 6, start with 1 chain stitch, and then work 7 single crochets. Finally, work 1 slip stitch to join this round. 1 chain stitch first, then 7 single crochets. Also mark the first stitch. Continue to work 6 more single crochets. Finally, one snip stitch. Round 6 is done. In round 7, work 1 chain stitch, 1 decrease, 3 single crochets, and 1 decrease in turn. Finally, end with 1 snip stitch. Let's start. 1 chain stitch first. Then work 1 decrease. Insert hook through the front loops of the next 2 adjacent stitches. Hook the yarn and pull the yarn through the front loops. Then yarn and hook, pull the yarn through both loops on the hook. That's 1 decrease. Then work 3 single crochets. Place a marker in the first stitch. Next, work 1 decrease. Insert hook through the front loops of the next 2 stitches. Hook the yarn and pull through 2 front loops. Yarn and hook, pull through the remaining 2 loops. Finally, work 1 snip stitch. OK. Stretch the loop, leaving a long end for sewing. Break yarn and pull the tail out. Tighten up. Remove the marker. One arm is completed. Make one more arm in the same way.